My name is James, a 40-year-old photographer hired to capture the icy beauty of a 2025 Arctic Circle cruise. The ship Aurora's Grace was a floating palace, heated pools, gourmet dining, and endless entertainment. The first days were a dream. The sky burned with crimson sunsets, and icebergs gleamed like jagged teeth against the horizon. My camera loved it, until it didn't. By day 3, my photos began to warp. A faint haze clung to every frame, like a shadow that didn't belong. Faces blurred into smears, and sometimes in the corner of a shot, I'd see a silhouette, a man, too far to make out, watching. I chalked it up to the cold messing with my equipment, but the unease gnawed at me. The ship felt wrong. Corridors seemed to stretch longer at night, and the hum of the engine sounded like a low, guttural chant. One night, I woke to a scream echoing from the service deck. I ran, heart pounding, and found the crew huddled around a man sprawled on the floor, unconscious. His eyes were wide open, staring at nothing. The crew whispered about seasickness, but their faces were pale, their voices trembling. I asked the captain the next day, but he brushed me off with a forced smile. "Nothing to worry about, sir." The unease grew. During an excursion on a frozen islet, I chased the perfect shot. The ice groaned underfoot, a sound like bones cracking. Then it split. I plunged into the black water, the cold slicing through me like 1,000 knives. My lungs burned, and for a moment, I swore I saw a face beneath the surface, gaunt, bearded, staring up at me. I clawed my way onto a floating shard, screaming for help. The crew pulled me out, but their eyes avoided mine, as if they knew something I didn't. Desperate for answers, I explored the ship's lower decks. In a restricted area, I found a room filled with blinking machines, far too advanced for a cruise ship. An engineer caught me, his voice sharp. "You shouldn't be here." He admitted the ship used experimental tech to navigate icebergs, but it was malfunctioning, causing electromagnetic distortions. That explained my camera, but not the figure in my photos. The final night, a storm hit. Waves towered over the ship, and the wind howled like a grieving spirit. Passengers screamed as the ship lurched, glasses shattering in the dining hall. I clung to a railing, certain we'd sink. In the chaos, I saw him again. The man from my photos, standing calmly on the deck, his eyes locked on mine. Then the storm passed, and he was gone. I left that ship shaken but alive, my photos a gallery of distorted nightmares. The Arctic taught me how fragile we are, and that some things watch us from the shadows, waiting. I'm Michael, a 35-year-old software engineer. In the summer of 2024, I booked a Mediterranean cruise on the Serenity's Call to escape my grind. The ship was paradise, crystal chandeliers, rooftop pools, and ports like Barcelona and Santorini. But paradise turned to dread when I met him. The first night, I grabbed a drink at the bar. Across the room, a man in his 50s stared at me. His hair was long and greasy, his beard unkempt, but it was his eyes that chilled me. Black, unblinking, like they could see my thoughts. I brushed it off, but the next night in Barcelona, he was there again. Same bar, same stare. My skin crawled. In Marseille, I tried to lose myself in the city's bustle, but the feeling of being watched never left. At a portside cafe, I caught him standing under a street lamp, motionless, his gaze boring into me. I confronted him, but he slipped into the crowd, vanishing like smoke. In Santorini, it got worse. I spotted him at sunset, his silhouette stark against the whitewashed cliffs. Furious, I chased him through the island's narrow alleys. He darted around corners, always just out of reach, until he vanished into thin air. Back on the ship, I couldn't sleep. Footsteps echoed outside my cabin, slow and deliberate, stopping at my door. A faint scratching followed, like nails on wood. I peered through the peephole. Nothing. But the air felt heavy, as if someone stood just out of sight. The final night, the cabin lights flickered. A thud shook the door, then another. I yanked it open, but the corridor was empty, the air thick with a sour metallic smell. When I got home, I scoured the internet. Forums buzzed with stories from other passengers on Serenity's call. They described the same man. Long hair, bearded, always watching. Some said he followed them. Others swore he appeared in their dreams, whispering their fears. No one knew who or what he was. I'll never board a cruise again. The watcher's eyes still haunt me. I'm Daniel, and 30 years ago I worked as a chef on a global cruise liner, the Eternal Dawn. The job was a dream. Exotic ports, a tight-knit crew, and a kitchen that ran like clockwork. But one man turned it into a nightmare. He was a maintenance worker, or so I thought. Mid-40s, lean, with a predatory stare. He'd linger on decks, watching passengers with eyes that seemed to peel away their secrets. One night, I caught him staring at a young couple, Emily and Tom, as they laughed on the main deck. His gaze was hungry, unnatural. When he saw me, he slunk away, but the unease lingered. A few nights later, I woke to thumps above my cabin. I crept to the upper deck and found him trying to jimmy a door, Emily and Tom's cabin. He froze, his eyes glinting like a cornered animal's, then bolted into the shadows. The next day, Emily told me their room had been ransacked, clothes strewn, jewelry missing. I reported it to security, but they dismissed it as a misunderstanding. I started watching him. He'd vanish into restricted areas, engine rooms, storage holds, places passengers never saw. One night, I followed him to a cargo bay. Hidden behind crates, I overheard him with another man, their voices low and urgent. "It's set for tomorrow," the stranger said, flashing a knife. My foot scuffed the floor, and they spun toward me. I held my breath, heart hammering, as their footsteps faded. I confided in Sarah, a hostess. She urged me to tell the captain. I did, but he promised to look into it, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. That night, alarms blared. An inferno roared in the engine room, and the ship tilted as passengers screamed. In the chaos, I saw him, the maintenance man, grinning as he slipped toward a lifeboat with his accomplice. I confronted him, demanding answers. He sneered, "You should have stayed out of it," and struck me, sending me sprawling. They fled in a lifeboat as the fire raged. The crew contained the blaze, but the cruise was over. At port, I told the authorities everything. They found no record of the man in the crew logs. He'd slipped aboard, a ghost in the system. His motives, arson, theft, or something darker, remain unknown. I never stepped foot on a ship again, but I still feel his eyes on me, watching from the dark.